Hello! Can I get a ooh, ooh? Can I get a better ooh, ooh? Yeah, can I get an even better one? Ooh, ooh? That's confusing. You did so great. I mean, you did so good. You did so incredibly good. You're good at listening anyhow. So we're gonna have a speaker now and you can do what you do best, right? Yeah. Let's not do the ooh thing ever again. Our next speaker is Frode Krisner, and he founded the company Gamepedia.com, offering solutions for gamers everywhere to get more life-changing experiences. Gamepedia's data and insights impact more than 300 million gamers daily, and their game metadata powers game discovery, advertising, and development. So basically, Frode is passionate about gamers and developers and ultimately video games to reach their full potential. So please welcome Frode Krisner.
Thank you, Matilda. Good to sort of see you guys. Bright lights. Very cool to be here. The talk that was just up there, that was a previous talk that we planned to do. This whole thing came about a little bit last minute, but I changed it to what you see on screen. We play to feel. We have a unique medium, unlike anything else, where when we play a video game, we don't watch a hero. We are the hero. We don't immerse ourselves in a world. We are asked to shape that world. And we're not just told a story, we live that story. And sometimes our industry that is so good at making us feel so many things, make us feel a little scared about the future. The last few years has been a record number of layoffs. The game industry has shrunk post-COVID, while digital video and music has continued to grow. And I think that's the first time since the 90s that our industry has been shrinking. 15 franchises accounts for 60+% of game time, while only 8% goes to new releases. There were almost 19,000 new releases on Steam alone in 2024, so we're not living in an undersaturated market. And then we have this ghost AI. What does it mean for me, for my company, for my game, for my art? I don't know about you guys, but this is not exactly rom-com stats. This is pretty scary shit. But I think there's a lot of room for hope for our beautiful industry. By the way, this is me. I got my first wheelchair when I was 12 years old. That same year, I had to stop attending school, and I never returned. I know a thing or two about an uncertain future, and I also know a thing or two about gaming coming to save the day. And in my formative years, when I was chained to my wheelchair, gaming saved my life. When I was playing split screen with my school friends of Halo, when I was debating online the features of the original Mafia, or trying to figure out whether it was the original Xbox or PS2 that was the best system. Gaming made me friends for life. But they did one more thing. Gaming made me believe that I could do the impossible, that I could go out there with no schooling and 2 hours of work capacity per day. I could go out there and actually change the world. And my little contribution to try to make this beautiful industry a little bit better was that I founded Gamepedia. And like Matilda touched upon, We live and breathe trying to deliver these extraordinary experiences that can change your life to a lot of gamers every single day. We power discovery experiences for 300 million people every day. We have about 100,000 unique games in our database of deep, broad taxonomy data on the gaming industry that we power the biggest discovery platforms in the world. Today, the talk is called the genre illusion. And to kind of set that up, I want to touch upon the ultimate discovery problem there is. What are you in the mood for right now? We, as a gaming industry, when we want to make people play our games, we are competing against the best moments, best options that anyone has at that given moment. And our research that we've done together with our partners show us that the mood that a gamer is in is actually one of the deciding factors that makes them decide whether to play or not. You could be in the mood to be the hero after you had a sucky day at work. You want to feel better. Or maybe you want to connect with your wife and you want to do something with her. Or maybe you're sick and tired of dominating for 6 hours playing Call of Duty and you just want to get your adrenaline levels down before bed. No matter what it is, we are competing against perfect. And the discovery experiences that we see, whether it's in an ad form, whether it's on a game store, or whether we're seeing a game cover, is usually very far away from that golden experience. And what usually happens today, whether it's an ad or whether it's on a game store, you focus on the genre of the game. And herein lies the genre illusion. You can almost say that genres, which is a category that describes a collection of gameplay mechanics, is a 2D representation in a complicated 3D world. I've been selling genres for almost 20 years. It's not that it's not useful. It's not that it's not valuable information. But it's not the end-all, be-all that it's usually treated as in the industry. And I think if you think about this, I think you can relate that when you play a shooter, you don't play to shoot. You play to feel mastery. You play to feel connected with your buddies online. You play to be the hero or to feel powerful in a world that often makes us all feel powerless sometimes. And to highlight this point, I want to take you on a little bit of an anecdotal discovery adventure. And that started a couple of weeks back. Who here has played Expedition 33? Or heard of it? A lot of people, most people have heard of it, that's very good. And I saw there was one back there who was very excited about having played it. So I'm not a big JRPG guy. So I have a big genre bias against this game. But somebody on my team sent me the reveal trailer a few weeks back, and I must say, it captivated my heart. I'll get back to how in a little bit. But first, since most of you have seen or know the game, I'm not going to dwell on the screenshots. But we're going to go a little bit of a deep dive into some of the data that we in Gamepedia collect about this game. So I can talk about taxonomy data all day long. I've been living and breathing this stuff for almost 20 years. I'm not going to put you through that today. But you can see the genres of Expedition 33 And it tells a story. And these are different importance levels. RPG is, of course, the main one. And then when you add the story and the theme, it adds depth to the storytelling. And you can look at the concepts that is in the game. And there were some innovative concepts in a JRPG for Expedition 33 that made it a lot more interesting. Especially the block and parry connected to the quick time events during combat. Which brings us to the vibes in the bottom left. And here you can see exciting is a big vibe for this game. And it's something that it's a good segue into zooming into the moods of the game. So what was it about this? What was it about this game that drew me to it when I saw this trailer? This beautiful city that I love personally, Paris, was in ruins. You had this paintress, who is this character and why is she killing people at a certain age? Pretty scary stuff. And the funny thing is that when the trailer got to the gameplay part, I closed the window after about 3 seconds. This might be sacrilege to a lot of people in the crowd, but when my friends were raving about Final Fantasy VII, 25, 26, 28 years ago now, I didn't get it. Yeah, it's a good game, but it's just not my thing. But I couldn't let this game go. It captivated me, captivated my emotions. I went out and bought it. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't have too much time to play. So I've only gotten like a good hour into it, but I'm actually enjoying it. And it's breaking my genre bias. But this isn't a scalable experience for our business. We can't build a business around somebody sent me a trailer. That wouldn't work really well. And I think we all know the discovery experiences of today on all these stores. What's new, what's hot, and genres, as far as the eye can see. And if we are competing against the perfect thing to do in that very moment, that is a very high bar. And all the developers in the room, you guys spend all your time crafting artful experiences that resonate emotionally. But that art is usually hidden. I have seen Expedition 33 on a game store many times before I actually saw the trailer. It didn't resonate. And I think our contention is that the consequence of this is that the industry is not growing as fast as it could be. Our industry has not doubled, even though we doubled the amount of games. If we can make the discovery experiences twice as effective, we probably won't double the industry either. But I think we'll get a lot closer. And here lies some of the opportunities that lies in front of us as an industry, both as a gaming industry and a tech industry. The UX experiences of tomorrow, it's going to be different than what they are today. And they haven't really changed that much since we got the smartphone 15 years ago. But now we're all experiencing chat. The TV will still be there. The phone will probably still be there. The AR glasses, maybe that will be a thing, who knows? And voice. And no matter the discovery experience, no matter the UX experience, we as an industry have to think about how can we make our games emotionally relevant for our audience. So imagine if you have a voice interface, how can you communicate the feeling of nailing a trick shot if you can't visually represent it? that is the challenge of making discovery truly three-dimensional and making sure that it works no matter the UX experience. So let's continue on our little discovery adventure. Let's say, by some miracle, that I was able to finish Expedition 33. Maybe you could recommend a new JRPG. Try your luck. And Sea of Stars, who here has played Sea of Stars? Not that many. Me neither. But it won Indie Game of the Year a couple of years back. And it's a beautiful JRPG experience. But it has a totally different emotional impact than Expedition 33. And it has an optimistic feel to it. It's lighthearted. It's a beautiful game experience. What if you want to have something that is the same emotional impact, but a completely different genre? Hollow Knight, Metroidvania game, Souls-like mechanics in the platforming. But it has a similar emotional impact, even though the game is extremely different. It has this mysterious world where you feel like there has been this great civilization lurking before the game is actually starting. And it's not the paintress, but it's an infection that is hurting this world. You need to figure out what is going on. It's also a dark, rich, atmospheric game with some beautiful undertones. It's exciting, edge of your seat, keeping you on the edge of your seat gameplay with the Souls-like mechanics that are very challenging. And if we look at the data, there are similarities in these two game experiences. But you would never see that similarity if you only looked at the genre. And of course, this being a subjective adventure, this game also speaks to me emotionally for the reasons that I've just mentioned. But then maybe you need a palate cleanser. Maybe you need something completely different. Expedition 33 is a fatty, heavy, rich experience. If you fail, your friends will die. In Tiny Glade, by the way, a game I found just by looking at similar games in our system, not similar, sorry, contrasting games in our system to Expedition 33. You get this beautiful experience where you can build your castle without really any grids or limitations. It's freeform. There's no combat. There's no management. And there are no consequences, which keeps it really lighthearted. It's a simple experience that allows you to really relax after that heavy-hitting experience of what Expedition 33 is all about. So we're to do a little bit of a recap. The genres, these two games are the same. The vibe, completely different. The emotional impact that this game provides is very different. It's a stark contrast. While these, very different genres, much more closer to home on the emotional front. And the palate cleanser, the sweet, light dish that complements the fat, heavy, rich dish. Here's one way you can think about discovery, how you can present your games to the right audience by hitting the emotional undertones of your games that really have been crafted to resonate. That's why we're building this art. We're not doing it just for fun. We're doing it because we're passionate about it. And that art deserves to be front and center. So, it's been a very subjective talk thus far. We're getting pretty close to the end. I'm a little bit ahead of schedule, actually. But we have been testing over the past few years. We've been testing with some of our big partners on how can we actually drive these emotional experiences to a bigger audience. And our hypothesis that emotions and moods really matter is playing out in these experiments. And one experiment that I can talk about at a high level saw a 2.5 times increase in engagement. I think it was a 10-fold time increase in secondary engagement the second time you see it. And these were just small emotional tweaks. But if we can really highlight the emotion of our game in our cover art, in our screenshots, in our descriptions, in our trailers, that's where we can really make that big impact that can create life-changing experiences. Like gaming changed my life 25 years ago. And that kid in the wheelchair, he's today really passionate about helping people that not only enjoy games, but need games. I don't know if movies or music, probably it can have a similar impact. But I don't think it can connect people as strongly as games can. We are social beings. And we're emotional beings. And when everything in the world around us is changing, we have to focus on some things that don't. Or else you have no way to know, you don't know where to look. And human nature does not change very fast. And our emotional needs, that's what we need to resonate with. And gaming has that unique ability that even if you're a weak kid in a wheelchair who can't walk more than 5 feet, gaming can make you feel powerful. You can actually go out there and change the world. And that's my mission in Gameopedia, that we deliver these life-changing experiences to as many gamers as possible every day. And making these emotional experiences come to life and have a deep personal impact that can at least change their day, but maybe even change their life. So thank you. We do have time for some questions, if there are any questions. We actually have quite a bit of time, since that was faster than I thought for once. Are there any questions? Here. 6th rower. Great.
Thank you for the talk. Really good.
Thank you.
How do we make this a feature on other platforms? How do we is there any way you see how to make this a feature on like Steam or Epic or even like the PlayStation Store?
I think one thing that developer community and the publisher community can do is actually talk to if you're a developer, talk to your publishers. How can we actually market the emotional side of our games more effectively? And try that, because it's such a complicated space, right? And I'm not saying that just do the emotions and it's a silver bullet and everything will be okay. But start there and actually push the platforms to also provide more insightful ways to discover games. And I think there will be coming chat interfaces on several of the big platforms in the coming future. We don't know how long, but that will probably help. But then again, it's about the marketing material that the developers create that actually enables the AI or whatever it may be to highlight the best of your game. Because it's the developers that actually understand that emotional impact really, really well.
Thank you.
There's a question in the back there and on the over here. On the gray jacket in the very back. Should have like a microphone you can just and hope not to knock somebody out.
Hi, so thank you for the talk. I have a question. Oh shit, it's so loud. I have a question regarding these emotional base, because to be honest, you kind of showcased the front page, like the storefront element.
Yep.
And I was wondering, because you were not really attracted by the storefront element at all.
Yep.
So, but these games you showcased, they actually have something in common. So I'm a researcher, so in general, our company has been researching different player motivations. And I can tell you that from our perspective, there are some layers that resonate with players. And you actually tickled on that. You said about that when you mentioned that you were captured by the trailer, where you saw the real gameplay. So I'm just wondering whether you are able, or maybe from your experience, you can maybe highlight to the developers how can they effectively communicate the content of their game. Because to be honest, we've been also conducting a lot of studies on visibility, and it's not about the visibility only. It's about the meat, which is like inside the game
creative.
as well. Yeah.
The creative content that you were putting out in the trailer. I think, which company were you from?
I'm from a research company. I don't want to announce our name here, so we can discuss it later.
Yeah,
I'm not here to promote the company. The thing is, I wanted to ask you what part of the trailer, which part of the trailer did tickle you in particular?
For me, like, this is, again, discovery is deeply personal.
Yeah.
So it's always a personal thing with your audience. How can you resonate well with that audience? And when we look at that part of the trailer had been like two big components. One was a story component that was painting a picture, a story picture, with quite broad brushstrokes, where these emotional triggers were quite heavy, maybe even heavier than it is in the actual game. But when it got to the gameplay aspect, that's where you introduced the genre component, and my bias kicked in, and I just closed the game. So I think that's the part of that trailer that really triggered me. And I think if you look at stats, was a survey that was sent to me a couple of days ago, and it said that 65% of new games are discovered on YouTube.
But they're not discovered through genre. They're discovered by particular influences, for instance.
Yes, and that is also, I think, the power of YouTube as a platform, because it's actually, the video format is so effective at actually displaying the emotional impact of our games.
But it has nothing to do with the genres anymore. So that's why I'm asking, because like for us, we see that more and more the general taxonomy has been changing. So players no longer watch only like one tag for Steam. And I don't think many players rely on genres anymore. So when it comes to this emotional part, I'm just wondering if you maybe have some more data or maybe more insights or your personal experience on how can we help the developers, float or like address these changes, especially that you have a lot of data you can combine with.
I think the clue there is to actually utilize more data than just the 2D representation like I talked about, that is the genre. If we can actually utilize the power of the emotional vibes, the themes, the storytelling techniques, if it's a story-driven game, maybe some multiplayer features, like when you stitch this together, you can get an impression of the market, and then you could actually reach potentially different segments if you're doing a social media campaign or doing an influencer. How do you analyze the market and see what actually resonates with this audience if I look at these emotional triggers in this game?
So you call them emotions, I call them motivations.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between us.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I work on motivations anyway.
I would love to discuss motivations with you.
Yeah.
We also have a motivational layer in our model, but it's at a different level.
Okay.
So I would love to talk about that.
I would gladly check it out.
Yeah,
Thank
cool. There's another question here in the middle, and I think there's also a question on the left and on the front row. It was a good thing I finished early.
Hello. I wanted to go back to the emotional part and what you said about your personal experience, because I connected a lot with what you said, but I also see the industry, and I see that we as developers, we want to deliver a message and make people feel something, but there is also a really it's a market, right? There's the people that has the money so you can deliver your message. It's people that think about result and money. Do you have any opinion on that, or any not solution, but what's your view on that? You as a player connected with a message. I did also, but there is also these people that want to get profit of that. So how can we creative in this kind of environment, right?
I think you have to make the commercial side work, or else the incentives won't be there, right? And I think what we are starting to do with our partners is getting them to understand that the emotional side actually matters a lot more than just the genre or the simple representation. And we're starting to see that in the results playing out, and that's where also the industry can actually change. And I think if there are more people having these discussions with more parts of the industry, and actually more people start testing out these hypotheses, and if they are accurate, it will play out financially as well. But it's a big ship to steer. Here on the left. I think I have time for a couple more questions.
First of all, thank you for this interesting talk. Could you talk a little bit about the methodology of you categorizing the games? For example, like which games do you categorize?
Yep.
Retail or mobile games? How long do you play these games until you categorize them? Stuff like that.
Very good question.
Also, are you skimming through the store page text, for example, to find some buzzwords to help you categorize these games?
We've been doing this for a long time. We have an army of about 100 geeks sitting and tagging and playing and watching and reading and everything. And we're trying to find that middle ground between accuracy and cost, like any business. And we focus primarily today on PC console. And we have about 5,000 games that we do a full analysis on every year. And we keep them updated from the time they're announced to way after their announcement. So that's kind of the rough outlining.
Thank you.
And you asked the one question about how long we play. It depends on the game, the complexity of the game. If it's really complex, we have to invest more time in it. There's a question he's been waiting a long time. And hopefully we get to the gentleman in the front.
Yes, also thank you from me for this talk. I've actually, thanks to your I feel inspired to actually pay more attention in the next press release, not so much on what the game is, but how it makes people feel. So that's actually, I resolve to do that.
I take that as a big compliment.
Yes. I have a question. I mean, I get what single game companies can do, changing their approach, talking more about how their games make people feel and how to put that more forward in their communications. But as for changing the approach of the industry as a whole, are you in talks with big stores?
Yes.
To basically, push the agenda and convince them to at least maybe introduce emotional categories. That's exactly what we don't really want, right? Well, I mean, like
I think it starts with categories.
Yeah, emotional markers to add those essentially to the store search, or I mean, what is your approach essentially in that direction?
We are having trying to have these conversations every day, but like we just talked about, these are big ships, and we want to definitely influence. We are trying our best to influence the industry to think in new ways on how you can do discovery more effectively. So I think I wish I could go into more detail. It's just the nature of NDAs. Gentleman on the front row.
Hello. Okay. First off, thank you very much for the talk. It was super interesting. My question is, do you think that by generalizing sort of these vibes, aren't you worried that it's gonna happen like the same thing that happened with genres, like that things are gonna start losing originality by getting described just by those? So like saying, oh yeah, it's just a Metroidvania with these elements instead of like actually describing the game.
Very good. I think that's an excellent point. And I think I just said to this other gentleman that the categories is a starting point, which you can then elaborate on, because if you don't have categories, it's difficult to compare, analyze the market at scale. And if you start there, then you can add layers of insights and interesting tidbits on top of it. And I definitely think that's the case. So the way that we do it, for instance, for vibes, that every vibe has about 20 different parameters that we're looking at to make it come to life. And I think if you present something, you have to be very careful of presenting the same thing over and over again. I read a research report a few years ago that said if you've seen a piece of content 3 times, you stop paying attention to what it says. But even a small tweak can make it come to life again. Then it kind of bypasses the subconsciousness. So,
thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. I think that's my cue. Time's up.